So this segment is a triple threat. It has to deal with Kamala Harris and the lack of policies, but also apparently AOC gaslighting for Kamala and TYT getting angry. They're upset. Anna Banana Kasparian's upset. She's angry. She's furious. At AOC, by the way, hey, didn't the Justice Democrats start off being associated with TYT? And didn't AOC kind of get her boost from TYT? And how come no one really vetted anyone from the Justice Democrat roster? They didn't do that. They didn't do that. What? Say what? Hold on. Wait a minute. Something's going on here, because apparently we're going to see some people get quite upset, emotionally upset. But just remember, TYT, you created that Frankenstein.
It's really on Joe Biden, but I still don't really appreciate being gaslit by AOC of all people in regard to Kamala Harris working tirelessly to secure a ceasefire.
But I thought she said she was awesome at one point. Anyways, hey, look, people can make hey, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, but it's still funny to see this on TYT.
There's no indication of that, no evidence of that. And in fact, I want to just remind you all, last week while I was on break, I saw this headline: U.S. releases $3.5 billion to Israel to spend on U.S. weapons and military equipment months after Congress appropriated. So this is the first round of the $14 billion that Congress appropriated for Israel's war on Gaza. And so you can't argue that the current Biden administration, which includes Kamala Harris, is fighting tirelessly for a ceasefire when they refuse to use the weapons as leverage and refuse to engage in an arms embargo and keep rewarding Israel with military support.
Yeah. So guys, it's super important to be truthful.
Yes.
And so.
Oh, really? Hey, TYT, how'd you get in there? Hey, you notice something? They don't have the same fancy little area that they had way back in 2016. It's like you guys are out there in the crowds, or is that just a green screen?
I'm supporting.
Oh, it's a green screen. Oh, okay. Because you'd probably be hearing the people.
Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, and strongly so. You see me do it on this show. You see me do it on all the shows I go on.
No, you haven't been condemning Kamala. I've been posting tweets about how childish you are in supporting her.
Ranging from right wing and left wing. But we do nuance. We do reality. We do truth, right? So.
Hey, give them that money, because that Katzenberg cash ain't working. Looks like TYT might be used up. They're dancing on that stage, and ain't no one giving them that money no more.
So speaking of which, by the way, let me just do a quick correction here, because yes, AOC mentioned, and no one else did until Joe Biden. And Joe Biden did mention the Palestinians twice, and he talked about the Palestinian suffering, and he said, end this war. So now normally I think rhetoric is not that helpful. In that case, having the president of the United States saying end this war is definitely a little bit helpful. Okay. Now, I wish they were doing more. I don't want you to get the wrong impression. It's not like Biden and Kamala Harris go behind.
This is how TYT or Sam Cedar or Kyle Kalinske and all the other quote unquote big channels are going to try and trick people in voting for Kamala. Tell us again, even though we're being gaslit.
Season laughed our ass off. Ha ha, Palestinian people, we don't care. No. And do they genuinely care? Maybe. But the reason we talk about, if you don't threaten the funding, you're not really doing anything, is because that's the only thing that can get this government of Israel to move, right? If they find another clever way of getting the government of Israel to stop the bombings and get to a ceasefire or a permanent peace deal, great, wonderful. That's all we want. But don't pretend that they did that. They didn't do that. In fact, they actively chose not to use their leverage.
Exactly. And they actively chose not to use their leverage and continue rewarding. It's not just, some vague government of Israel. We're talking about a government that is currently led by an individual who has served as an obstructionist to any possible ceasefire.
Yes, and that's your gal. That's who you're supporting, right? That's who you think is going to actually have your back. But no. because she still doesn't have any policies here, folks. And even at the end of the convention, that's almost like little too late. Because after August, you have September and October, 2 months. 2 months. What do we have in 2 months? Do we have anything in 2 months? Do we have any kind of adjustments to talk about in 2 months? Can the Democrats really offer anything in 2 months? Is their message even going to resonate to voters? Probably not. I want to pull up this tweet here. Something we did. The fact that you still believe that Democrats or even Kamala will fight for progressive policies is childish. You believe their lies like a kid thinking Santa is real. You are not a serious person. Because after all, what did Cenk write? You know, Kamala Harris proposals are truly populist because corporate media caught feelings over it. When right-wing media and mainstream media both start piling on, that means you've touched a corporate nerve. No, that also means that the corporate nerve is getting a hard-on for Kamala because, look, folks, here's her policies. Just to pull up this thing from RT. All Trump, no Harris. A look at the Democratic Party's puzzling new platform. Because after all, Democrats, do you have anything? A woke introduction. The platform opens the so-called land acknowledgement, declaring the U.S. is made up of lands that have been stewarded through many centuries by the ancestors and descendants of tribal nations who have been there since time immemorial. Again, look at this. Democrats say, while we in Chicago, we also recognize the honored traditional homelands of the native tribes here. They're using identity politics. Biden's still in the race. The platform refers to Biden as the Democratic Party's candidate at least 20 times, despite the 81-year-old suspending his campaign and endorsing Vice President Harris to run in his place last month. President Biden, Vice President Harris, and Democrats are running to finish the job. They're not even updating their social media here, folks. All about Trump, because after all, you have a voter base that is suffering from Trump derangement syndrome. No Harris policies. She has nothing. All the platform's post-election promises are attributed to Biden, with the document omitting Harris's recent economic proposals, which include financial assistance for first-time home buyers, $6,000 per child tax credit, and price controls on groceries. Hoaxes and falsehoods. That's right. But hold on, folks. It gets a little bit better. Democrats stifle doubts about Harris's campaign proposals. In Chicago, Democrat lawmakers are stifling whatever doubts they have about Vice President Harris' campaign proposals in the hope of keeping a unified front as it heads into the intense final 2 months of the 2024 election. And this is where it's going to be a really tight race. All depends on who's going to pull out the most voters, who's going to get the most people to support them. Because we don't have a system of popular vote. We have a system of the Electoral College. Democratic senators previously criticized the proposal to shield tipped income from taxes from former President Trump's proposed idea in June, but are holding their tongues now that Harris has endorsed the idea. Democrat lawmakers also have big questions about how to implement Harris' proposal to crack down on price gouging, which has attracted sharp attacks from Republicans. But Democratic lawmakers don't want to poo-poo the idea at a time when Democratic officials and delegates have traveled to Chicago from around the country to celebrate Harris's nomination to the presidency. Because after all, it's so good to have nothing but joy, joy, joy. And they are keeping quiet about whatever doubts they have about how aggressively a President Harris would tackle climate change or how she would handle the war in Gaza, which has divided the party. I have the answer for you. The answer is she's not going to do a single thing. She won't do a single thing to stop it. She's not going to address climate change or a crumbling infrastructure or corruption. And the war in Gaza is going to still keep moving along. After all, after August, you have September, October, November, December. You know, when I covered, when we started talking about the war in Gaza, you know, we did a segment where Netanyahu said the war is going to last till 2025. Kamala, it's 2024. Do you still have any proposals on your campaign website? Hello? Hello? Fried chips and chicken wings. Hello? Democrats who have gathered in Chicago want to celebrate Harris's nomination and are focusing on winning or whining, whichever one you want. They have shoved aside any doubts about Harris as they seek to keep control of the White House and Senate and win back the House majority. One Democrat senator who had dismissed Trump's proposal to shield tips from tax said it's a more palatable idea coming from Harris. Oh, so what Harris is doing is she's cheating off of Trump's test. That's an epic fail move. The lawmaker said Trump's goal to deliver tax breaks for the wealthy and giving restaurant servers and other tip workers is an afterthought, while the source defended Kamala's support for the proposal as part of a broader plan to help lower and middle-income Americans. Other Democrat senators say Harris' proposal to eliminate taxes on tipped income will be evaluated in comparison with competing proposals when it comes to time to debate the expiration of the Trump-era tax cuts next year. So see? That's all it is. The Democrats know that Kamala doesn't run on any policies. But hold on. Wait a minute. Let's actually talk more about policies. Let's hear about her economic policies. Shout out to Case Study QB. Case Study, I don't know how you sit through this, but let's listen, because after all, corporate donors control everything, my lovelies.
Some of the big donors that support Kamala Harris want her.
Oops, I'm very sorry about that. That just got deleted off. Let me go ahead and at least pull that up here again. That should not have happened. I apologize for that video being removed. So let's go ahead and bring that up here, because we need to hear about the economy. We need to hear what Kamala will be offering to voters. And after all, if we don't know what's going on with the economy, how are we going to know how to pay our bills and everything else in between? So let's pull up this video again from Case Study QB, and let's play this video for all of you to see firsthand.
Some of the big donors that support Kamala Harris want her to ditch Lena Khan. But of course, that was a Biden pick, and the progressives want to keep her. Do you have any understanding what FTC could look like under Kamala Harris as president?
Well, I think that, so if you look at just kind of her background as a prosecutor, she's definitely kind of looking to still do some antitrust pieces. But anyone who does come in may want to actually have their own people in the various agencies. And that also might just even depend on, how
Apologies for the clicking noise. That's not me. That's the video.
She feels that Lena Khan is currently working in that agency and what she wants to do moving forward. So I don't have a good idea yet if she might make a change at the top there, but I think that's something that Harris is still going to be quite focused on. This kind of goes back to the price gouging proposal that she made on Friday. So that's something that she's still going to be looking to doing.
When it comes to the price gouging proposal, this is something that the Republicans have really just taken a hold of to criticize Kamala Harris. You're at the DNC. What are Democrats saying? Because I've heard to Democrat-leaning economists who say, we hope that this is just rhetoric and not actually reality. I'm thinking of Jason Furman. What are you actually hearing at the DNC when it comes to this? Do they feel like they fell short on proposing this idea because of the criticism it's gotten even within their own party?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that the Democrats are trying to focus on affordability issues.
Affordability issues. So let's talk about affordability. Let's pause right here. Pause for a second. Because again, this is all speculation. Here's her website. Let's refresh it one more time in case I missed something. You could donate money, but I see nothing on policy. Nothing in regards to the economics, nothing in regards to the war in Gaza, nothing.
This has been an election about inflation for most of this cycle. And so there still know that there's voters out there who are concerned about the affordability issue. They're concerned about the fact that Trump does poll better on the inflation and economy. They're trying to create proposals for that. You do have some Democrats who are saying this is more about consumer protection. This is just more about antitrust, making sure there's not large mergers within the food industry. So I think some people are kind of walking it back a little bit. And some people are saying it's not that big of a deal. But I think obviously the devil's in the details if it actually comes to pass. But I think this is just one of those proposals that's been put out there to be standing for something at this time.
I think it's worth repeating, Jeanette, just to explore this a little bit further. What's the difference between what you think they're proposing and what we already have?
What it is Kamala is going to just copy what Biden's economic policy was, or use it at click, copy, and paste anything and steal anything from Donald Trump or third parties or independent candidates. That's what we're going to see here. Okay. Spoiler alert. She's going to cheat. Kamala Harris is one of those people that cheat off the test. Okay. So remember when you were in the elementary school or high school, and you're doing the test and somebody's looking over your shoulder. Yeah, that's it. They're stealing your ideas.
Right. And I think that one of the biggest things too, when you're seeing things with, Biden and Harris. So for instance, they both had a housing down payment assistance. Harris went further. She went from $10,000 to $25,000. Well, a lot of those things were difficult to get done even when Biden was in office and we had Democratic control in the House and Senate. So what is that control going to look like in 2025? That's going to be really important for what Harris can get done. Obviously, there are things that you can do at the executive level that you would have the ability to do without Congress, but Congress is going to be really important if you want to do things like childcare or paid family leave or the like, which I think.
And if anyone's thinking the Democrats are going to have your back, you are gravely mistaken. But let's return back to Fat Tony and Anna Banana. Take it away how upset you guys are being gaslit by AOC.
In fact, we covered that recently, and I want to remind you of this important excerpt from an Axios piece written by Barak Ravid. He says Netanyahu's negotiating team briefed him on Sunday that if he gave them, meaning Hamas, more wiggle room, meaning an actual ceasefire, okay, not a, we agree to a ceasefire, but we're going to keep bombing Palestinian civilians, which is what Netanyahu keeps saying that he wants to do. A deal might be possible, but Netanyahu refused to budge and reprimanded them for caving to senior Israeli officials, tell Axios. Now, I give you that because if you don't condition the military aid and you just keep rewarding Netanyahu, then Netanyahu is going to Netanyahu. And that's exactly what he's been doing. And again, I get, I'm going to stop holding back. AOC gaslighting us on that is unacceptable.
Oh, but you created that Frankenstein. You went to bat for that Frankenstein. Oh, remember forced to vote? Remember that? Turns out Jimmy Dore was right. Hold on. If you listen very carefully, you could hear him laughing in the distance. Because Jimmy Dore was proven correct about AOC and all the progressive Democrats. Harlan's Media, we were proven correct. New Dissidents, RBN, INN. But you're upset that you got gaslit. Look at that. Look at that. You're upset. You're angry.
Unacceptable. Okay, you should have just left that out of her speech entirely. You want to go up on that stage and you want to rally for Kamala Harris, do you, boo? But don't gaslight me and the American people and Democratic voters as someone who ran as a progressive who's looking to oust the corporate Democrats. Okay, don't gaslight me and tell me like, no, she's working around the clock. Working around the clock.
Yeah.
Twerking around the clock, maybe.
Tirelessly.
Yeah.
Come on.
So look, and she does that because that's the etiquette of Washington.
No, she said it right. See, Jake's trying to correct her. Shut up. I need that Katzenberg cash. Otherwise, how am I going to get my next fix of donuts?
And she's trying. Honestly, let's be real. She's trying to curry favor and paint it in a light that is most favorable to the Democratic Party. Now, at the same time, just Democrats, including AOC.
Dude, they kicked you out. I would be so pissed off at that organization, man. Or maybe you like getting embarrassed. Who knows? I don't know.
Have been the best in fighting for Palestinian rights and to end this war in other circles.
Since when? Oh wait, I'm sorry. Rewind that again. What have Justice Democrats and Squad have done? What have they done?
No, she's working around the clock. Working around the clock.
Yeah.
Tirelessly.
Yeah.
Come on.
So look, and she does that because that's the etiquette of Washington. And she's trying. Honestly, let's be real. She's trying to curry favor and paint it in a light that is most favorable to the Democratic Party. Now, at the same time, just Democrats, including AOC, have been the best in fighting for Palestinian rights and to end this war.
Did anyone get that memo? Where that happened? We got 515 beautiful people watching us right now in this live stream. We will be clipping this segment, but anybody type in the comment section below when I clip this video, or type right now in the live stream chat. Hey, the memo didn't get to me. When did AOC's been fighting real hard for the people of Palestine? Because last I checked, way back, if we go time travel, wasn't it old hagbag Nancy wagging her finger at AOC for voting no for the Iron Dome funding, and then AOC cried and turned her no vote into a present vote? Does anybody remember that? Anybody remember that? Anybody? Because I want to know.
Or in other circumstances, and they've Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, and yes, AOC have pushed the administration. But did they get it done? No, they didn't get it done. It's been 10, almost 11 months now of brutal bombing after bombing, death after death. So if you wanted to do a portion of your speech speaking up for the Palestinian people, I love you for it, and that would be great. But again, the line to not cross is an obvious one. Don't pretend that they're doing something that they're not doing.
Oh, how pathetic. But hold on. Here's a good gut check. Because after all, corporate media, MSNBC is praising AOC. And if you were once a supporter of AOC, this should enrage you. Give it up for BSDNC, laughing at any attempt to really change the Democratic Party. We never had a chance. Break away from it.
AOC, who 4 years ago, and this is one of the things that struck me, 4 years ago, she had 90 seconds to introduce Bernie Sanders. And tonight she gave a pretty powerful, rip-roaring speech. I mean, she has made an entire transition through the world of politics in a little bit of, in many ways. But she's one of those people who people knew, but maybe they looked at and thought, oh, that's a person who's a little different than what I thought. Jasmine Crockett, I think people are Googling. What did you think, Ben, about some of the people who spoke who maybe people they aren't household names necessarily. Some of them are.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm also just struck by AOC's speech. I mean, I think the thing that you're seeing here is just this.
Oh, they're all struck by the speech. Oh, see, Anna, BSDNC is just struck by the speech.
Democratic Party that sort of can't believe its luck at this moment, but also just how unified it is. I mean, there's a scenario where AOC was out in the street with a huge mass of protesters, right? Like that's sort of her DNA. And instead, there are barely any protesters. They're unused.
Again, it kind of brings up what we covered on yesterday's live stream when we were covering Disrupt the DNC with Kshama Sawant, Dr. Jill Stein, and Nick Cruz. Kshama Sawant said it best. Like there was a lack of protest. And now, to be very clear here, at Union Park on Monday, the first day of the DNC convention, because this is day 3 of the DNC convention, there was about maybe 4,000, at the less 3,000, between 4,000 people there at Union Park, protesting and marching towards the DNC convention. And yes, a strong argument can be made. There were more people outside than inside the DNC convention on day 1. But also, number 2, AOC wasn't out there with the protesters. I was there. I was there for the entire day. My colleague Daniel and I got there at 9 a.m. in the morning. Jimmy Dore was there. New Dissidents was there. RBN was there. Everybody was there. But I didn't see AOC or the squad speak to the protesters. I didn't see any Democratic lawmakers speak to the protesters. They weren't there at all. They were all inside. The great Saint George Carlin was right. It's one big club, and you ain't in it. But never forget who created that Frankenstein monster. Never forget who created Justice Democrats. Jink and Kyle, Fat Tony and Dime Store Eminem, who created the Justice Democrats, or Just Us Democrats.
With a huge mass of protesters, right? Like that's sort of her DNA. And instead, there are barely any protesters. There are unused protest signs lying all over the park because not enough protesters showed up. And the kind of core oppositional voices in the party are just so fully inside the tent in a way I think I would not have predicted. And I think and who knows how long that kind of thing can last. It can probably last 3 months.
Yeah, Democrats know the assignment. There is one assignment, and that is to keep Donald Trump from the Oval Office and to create an environment where we can secure our future, the future that we want.
Because it's all about Donald Trump. We can't be afraid of Trump. Trump's going to get us. He's going to chase you down the street with an axe.
For ourselves and our families. And so they're not going to let anything distract from that one solitary goal. And that's why I think we saw Joe Biden move so quickly to shut down any notion of dissent. You'll remember at some time, Michael, we've talked about this, how there were this notion that there should be regional town halls, right? To pick the Democratic.
How is that going to work exactly?
He shut it down, and that was the right.
I was looking forward to that. We in the press.
I mean, I'm sure you were.
Yes. Jen Psaki was part of the White House, Joe Biden administration, and now has a nice cushy job with the BSDNC. Because after all, folks, you're being represented by the Democratic lawmakers who supposedly care about you, but don't really give a damn about you. Ain't that something? Ain't that a stinker?